Welcome to Sober Talk. I'm Dennis and I'm an alcoholic. Sober today thanks to Alcoholics Anonymous. If you or anyone you know is struggling with alcohol, please call Alcoholics Anonymous on 1300 222222 or visit their website at aa.org.au. I'll just run through the preamble of Alcoholics Anonymous. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of people who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problems and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for a membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. It is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution. It does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses or opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics achieve sobriety.
Thanks, Jai. Hi, I'm Leah, and I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah, I guess I'll start with a little bit of background. When Jai asked me to to be the guest speaker, I just go into instant panic because I get so terrified. I sit in fear and I get so anxious about these things, and particularly being about being a spiritual speakers meeting about prayer and meditation. And I feel like it's a really big topic for someone so young in sobriety to talk about. But I'll give it a go. I grew up on the South Coast, and I wasn't really any different as far as drinking and drugging to any of my peers. I did drink. I started smoking weed when I was 12. I wasn't a big drinker, and I was always controlled in what I drank and what I took. And I really kind of always share that because when I first came in here listening to I was an alcoholic before I picked up my first drink. I drank alcoholically from the get-go. I drank from oblivion. I did not identify with that at all. I used to have an off switch, and somewhere along the line that switch got broken. Growing up on the South Coast, I had a pretty good childhood, I guess. It was a standard issue. I don't have any childhood trauma that I can speak of. I grew up in harsh. My dad's from the army, and we don't show emotions. And as a kid, I know that I was always being told I was really serious. I wasn't a giggly girl. I didn't laugh that much. I was just a really serious and very particular. And particular is the word I use for perfectionism. And I have been like that my whole life. I've never been any different. And I guess, I had life happened. I had kids in my early 20s. And I've raised a family. I've built houses. I've owned businesses. I have had a life. And my home life with my husband was always fairly unmanageable. And I was a workaholic. And I definitely, looking back, in reflection, you can see I used exercise addictively. Like I used to exercise like that. Food, eating too much or not eating enough, all of that kind of stuff that tends to come along with the traits of alcoholism. And I'll share this because this, I think, relates. I was 25 years old. I had a nearly 3-year-old son, and I was at my brother's wife's wake. My sister-in-law died when she was 32, and her parents were there. And it was the first time that I ever identified, and I was aware of it, that they had something that I wanted. And I knew that they had a faith, a very strong faith. They had just lost their second child. Ended up losing all three to the same degenerative kind of disease that they had at the ages of 29, 32 and 34. And they just had this thing, this calmness, this peace, this God. And I was aware that they were very devout Catholics. And I just remember having, it really affected me, and I thought about it for a long time, that I wanted what they had. And I went away and I felt really resentful at my parents because they didn't raise me in a religious household. Religion did not exist. God was not mentioned. I only know of what I saw on TV or heard, and I've always been fascinated in religion. I'm very curious and have always been about what people do for religion, how people act, and it's not something that I relate to, but I'm always been fascinated by it. And I ended up taking that information to my mum, and I just thought, that's it. I just have to live. They have this knowing, this God, this understanding, this thing that they seemed okay with their circumstances. They were obviously very sad and all of that, but there was something about both of them. And I thought, well, that's it. I just have to, it's too late for me. I don't believe, I don't have a religion. I wasn't raised that way, and now I just have to be like this. So that was that was quite a profound, I guess, experience that I had, and the first thing that, I noticed that, like, what a faith can offer somebody. So fast forwarding through life, my drinking became unmanageable. And it's interesting, once you've been in recovery a little while, I've been in my journey of recovery started over 4 years ago, but I am 2 years, 9 months sober. Drinking in AA is part of my recovery. I was fortunate enough that I never left AA. In fact, I drank and then went to meetings. And they were all isolated incidents. It's a really interesting drinking. I drank every second Monday for about 3 months because I was working for somebody at their house and they were not home, and so they had a very extensive bar that I drank from, and then I would go to my meeting. I did lots of meetings. I was, I guess, backtracking about, I ended up in a rehab for 12 months altogether, 6 months on site and 6 months in a halfway. And that's where I was introduced to AA, I guess, properly. My mum had formerly taken me to a couple of, she would drop me off to AA meetings after she had bought me a bottle of my medicine. Because I couldn't go, I couldn't stop. I, was in detox at that stage. And so she would, buy me my medicine. I would have that, and then I would go. And I remember walking in and seeing the word God, and I thought, oh, God, like, I can't do this. And what I think it was, I related the word God to religion. I did not think that at the time, but it's kind of what I guess I've, maybe worked out in the process since then. And religion didn't appeal to me. And anyway, I see the word God, I guess, after my bowl of wine, written on some crummy, scrunch-up, stained calico, hanging on the walls of a dingy side room in a church. And that's my recollection. With some, I was the youngest by many years, and I didn't last the whole meeting. I go, I can't be here. This is not me. I'm not this type of an alcoholic. So yeah, I guess that was my first couple of AA meetings. That they must have been at least 8, 9, 10 years ago. And so then coming into the rehab and being introduced to AA, where it was part of the program. We had to go to meetings, and I had no intent. In fact, I had no intentions of being at the rehab for very long. I just thought if I could get a couple of months up without alcohol, I would be good to go. I would have reset, and I can be off on my merry way, drinking as I used to. Before that, I'd been into many trips of DASA, and I thought a week high on Valium, and I'd be good to go. Just so unaware, and what I didn't have was any understanding of alcoholism. I don't even think I'd heard the word alcoholism. I didn't know that, it was an illness. So, yeah, being in that rehab, going to meetings sober, I did not listen to anything. I must have read the steps out 100 times, and I didn't even question what any of it meant. I didn't interact with anybody. I had no intentions of being part of AA because, mainly because you don't drink in AA, and that was never part of my plan. So there was a lot of learning to do when I look back on myself, and even my mum knew and other people knew. I don't know how I did not know, but I just didn't. And so something happened, I guess, in those 12 months of going to meetings. In the end, going to 4 meetings a week. I started, I guess, I would get up and I would share, and I would just, I had no qualms in sharing in the beginning, unlike now. And I would just get up and tell you all what I thought about AA, what I thought about the program, that it was a cult, and that people were just trying to recruit. And yeah, kind of embarrassing when I look back on it. And you all just let me speak. You just gave me the space to go through that and work it out for myself. I then left rehab, and surprisingly, I continued to go to meetings. I didn't have a job, and I was going to meetings every day, sometimes twice a day. I don't know why I did that when I had no intentions of being part of AA, but I guess looking back, something AA got me. It had started to get me, and I had, there was something, I guess, an understanding that, that I started to open my eyes and look around me. And I remember being in a meeting, and it was the first thing that, it must have been said many times before, that I really identified, other than all the war stories. And somebody said, my whole life I have always felt like, is this it? Like, is this all I get? This can't be it. This can't be life like as it is. And I have said those words out loud to my mum quite a few times. It started in my 20s when I seemingly had a life. And I said, is this it? Is this all I get? Like, this can't be it. My mum's like, this is it. You have a house, you have a family, you have a career, you have a job. I'm like, this, I know, but that's not it. It can't be it. This is not enough. And yeah, what I've come to learn is that's that spiritual malady. And it was that first time I really identified with something in AA, and I go, that's it. That's what I'm missing. And it was at that same time that I thought back, and I started to listen about, what it meant to be spiritual and spirituality versus religion. And I thought back to that time where I got resentful at my parents, and I saw what these other people had, and they had religion. And I just had a bit of an aha moment where I thought, this is my opportunity. Like, I might have a chance at this. So I started to do the suggested things. I got a sponsor, and I still had really no awareness. I was still incredibly disconnected, still frozen. You hear people saying they're thawing out. I was still incredibly rock hard frozen. I throughout my I guess my marriage, I switched off all emotions really, and all feelings. I wouldn't have survived with them. I feel like I came into AA, I guess, emotionally flatlining, just nothing. And I remember hearing about emotional sobriety, the Holy Grail. When you first come in, you're like, what is this thing? Like, that they're speaking of, and you don't understand. And I just thought, well, I don't need to worry about that because I don't have feelings and I don't have emotions, so it's irrelevant to me. And I thought that that's fine because I didn't come in super angry. I know a lot of people come in quite angry, and they always say that when you listen that there's fear underneath that. I don't seem to have that level of anger on top of me, and so I was just pretty, um, and then I started to do the suggested things. I started reading and like prayers, still not knowing, still only doing half measures, still not committing, still being very reserved and resistant, which has been the theme of my recovery, to be honest. Resistance. And that's where I drank in those in that space in time. And it was in that drinking that things started to happen. I started to get what I now know is restless, irritable, and discontent. When I wasn't drinking, when I was sober in those periods of time. And I remember my sponsor at the time ringing me up and saying, "How are you? How are you on the inside?" And I said, "Oh, I'm okay. I think I ate too much cream yesterday, and so I don't feel so good." Still no awareness. I didn't know what that meant. Like I just took things so literally. And then she asked me this again, and it was like, I feel so awful. I feel like I want to rip my skin off. I feel like I'm a pinball machine and there's things going around on the inside. I can't sit still. I can't concentrate. I can't watch a movie. I can't do anything. I'm pacing around. I don't know what to do with myself. And it's there like that I realized I was in a bit of trouble, and that if I don't, give this, a real opportunity, that I'm in trouble. So I made that decision I feel like the decision was taken away from me almost, like I had to do this. Like it wasn't really a choice. And then that's when I became willing. Um, I I then got a new sponsor, and that sponsor was the opposite of the type of sponsor I wanted. Um, Quite routine, and I don't know, I called it militant at the time. Ringing every day, all of that. And that's exactly what I needed at that time. And she asked the question, and I said yes. Are you willing to go to any lengths? And I said yes. And I thought, crap. Yeah, and that's, I guess, where my real recovery really started. I've been sober from that day, 2 years and 9 months ago. And that reminded me, Jai, reading that I had to read that every day, and I didn't even know the words that I was reading. I'm like, what is this doing? How can this be doing anything or changing anything when I don't even understand? But what I've come to realize is you don't have to have understanding. You cannot understand any of this. You just have to do it, and the understanding, to some extent, comes after. And sometimes there's never understanding. It's just a knowing that things are changing. I don't understand how this works. I don't even begin to try anymore. My God is the universe, and it's an energy and a force that is everywhere, that is in me. that is in you, and it allows me to connect to you. And when I do my prayers, I have noticed, and it's something that I've noticed. I don't pray to something that's out there. I pray to something that's in here. And that's been a journey in itself. Like I said, reading those prayers and not understanding the words, and then it all comes into place. And I have to just trust that. At first, it was just trusting my sponsor and trusting that when she did this, it worked for her, and trusting that all the people in this room have done very similar things and it works for them too. And just knowing that doing these things, it keeps me in, I guess, recovery mode, even though it doesn't feel like I'm always doing things at the time, like it's not doing anything. It keeps me in recovery mode. It's been a very full-on, I guess, 2 years and 9 months. I've had a lot happen externally, but mostly internally. There's been some big shifts. I've had a rock bottom already in recovery, where I felt like life pulled the rug out from underneath me, and I fell apart. It's been my steepest learning curve to date. I was praying every night to not wake up the next morning. I didn't want to be alive. I wasn't suicidal as such, but I think every alcoholic understands and can relate to that. I can't do this. I can't go through this one more day. I just don't want to wake up. I can't do it. And every day I woke up, and every day I prayed, and every day I went to meetings. It was dark. Depression came back, anxiety came back, my panic attacks came back, and I started waking up. That's what recovery is really about, right? Waking up, not being like I feel like I have my entire life being a matrix filler, just walking around on this planet doing whatever it is that I'm doing. I now have a God of my own experience. So all those things that I did, and I really, without even questioning or trying in that dark time, I had desperate prayers, on my knees prayers, yelling into my pillow prayers, so many meetings, and eventually, quite a few months later, I came out the other side slowly, as everything is in recovery. And, it wasn't one specific moment that I came out. It was just gradual. But I definitely remember being at home. This was about 5 months after. And I was putting clothes away in my wardrobe, and I just had this feeling, like I was aware of a feeling that I've never had before. And I believe that is the God within me, being alive, being present, and being connected to it, really, most importantly. I believe it was that, because I don't really have words for it. I can't describe the way I felt. I just know I had this feeling of, I felt like happy on the inside, content, at peace. Nothing really on the outside had changed that much in that, around that time. I mean, the 5 months previous, yes. But I just thought, this is good. I want to feel like this all the time. And of course, that's not recovery. It's not linear. And of course, I go in and out of recovery mode. Sometimes I'm connected and sometimes I'm disconnected. I do have an awareness about it now. And so long as I have that awareness, I feel like I'm in the safe zone. It's what scares me is not knowing that you're disconnected, but being disconnected because, going back into that delusion that I spent so long being in. And, then life happens. I get busy. I'm, still a mum of young adults, and I feel like they cause me, they bring me a, a lot of work. I study, I work, and I do recovery. And it's easy for things to slip away. It's scarily easily for prayers to drop off, or prayers of just rolling off the tongue, not prayers with intentions. I can tell the difference. I know the difference. I can feel the difference. It's going from 3 or 4 meetings down to 2 or 3 meetings. It's not taking my quiet time, my meditation, which I must be honest, I have found difficult to get traction on. I go in and out of finding quiet time. I think, like a lot of people, when they come in, I feel like I have to sit there and I have to have everything at peace. I have to have the candle lit. I have to be in the right position. I need to have the right music on and do this set for, however many minutes. And I've had to let go of that idea of meditation. It can be a quiet walk in the morning. It can be in the shower. It can just be conscious thought of making contact with God. It's the listening space. The prayer is talking to God, and the meditation is the listening to God. And I've had a few interesting things, like just random things pop up in meditation that I felt like I've had to do, which is always an interesting concept when it happens, or it's like, this is something I need to do, and I go off and do it. But yeah, it's not been linear. And just of late, in the last couple of months, I would say that all these words that I'm saying right now are exactly the words that I need to hear. I have been disconnecting for a bit, and now I need to reconnect. I need to, it takes effort, and it's not always easy, but it's just simple things. And I like how Sandy Beach puts it. I think it's not a direct quote. I'm not great at direct quotes. The only problem that we ever have is our distance between ourselves and God, our connection with God. The only solution that we ever need is our distance between ourselves and God, our connection with the God. It's the same for the problem and the solution, our connection with God. And I'm very grateful that I've found that here in AA, and I have a whole community of people to support me. I think I have exhausted my brain, and thank you all for being here.
AA has more than 2 million recovering alcoholics throughout the world. In Australia, there are about 18,000 members. They meet in over 2,000 local meetings spread around the country. Meetings range in size from a handful in some areas to hundreds or more in larger communities. And once again, if anyone you know is struggling with alcohol issues, please call Alcoholics Anonymous in 1300 222222 or visit their website on aa.org.au.